But the reception to pro wrestling is the same as it is in any other medium. The fans, diehard or otherwise, are gonna complain. It doesn't help then that WWE has continuously unleashed a slog of matches, moments, and angles that have seriously angered its core fanbase. Even in 2025, this hasn't ceased, as John Cena's heel turn, a moment so eagerly anticipated for over 2 decades, was handled without the care and attention it truly warranted. But that's just the latest chapter in a lengthy anthology of WWE having historically patronized its audience. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the most complained about moments in WWE history. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Number 10. The Jey Uso Experiment. 111,000, 89,000, 84,000. No, those aren't WWE's inflated attendance figures for the past 3 WrestleManias. They actually represent the company's 3 most disliked YouTube videos of 2025. The common denominator? Jey Uso. The 3 videos in question are Jey winning the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 41, 1-minute squash over Austin Theory from March of 2025, and his recent Battle Royal victory on Raw acted as sufficient evidence that WWE's incessant pushing of main event Jey really hasn't worked. He shifts merchandise and he's got his catchphrase over, but this didn't equate to a consistent spot atop the WWE main event mountain. For those reasons, WWE's decision to light a fire behind him wasn't a terrible idea, but they've absolutely taken it too far. Putting him over in the 2025 Royal Rumble match, last eliminating John Cena what was seen as final Rumble before retiring, was instantly met with skepticism on social media, and a subsequent ride to WrestleMania wasn't exactly without hurdles. His in-ring work is poor and certainly isn't the level of his main event counterparts. Number 9. The rise and fall of Zack Ryder. Now, there was a genuine feeling of change in the air post-TLC 2011, the first scene of which saw the unionization of CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Zack Ryder in the ring. It was a particularly poignant moment for Ryder, who'd ridden the WWE system for years and was finally seeing the hard work paying off. That is until he realized that only the fans, not Vince McMahon, were behind him. In Vince's mind, their opinion was as useful as a dinosaur skull on his office wall. Ryder hadn't been gifted with a fruitful WWE career that made him a household name, but away from WWE's shambolic television, he used his self-produced YouTube series The True Long Island Story to get himself over. It worked too until WWE got bored and booked him to drop the United States Championship within weeks, and then had Kane kill him off on the same night as his storyline girlfriend Eve Torres cheated on him in front of him with supposed babyface John Cena. Fans were pissed, but what could they do? Getting yourself over outside of WWE's corporate bubble was treated as a crime, and thus Ryder didn't do too much else for the next 8 years before he was ultimately canned in 2020. Number 8. John Cena slays the Nexus. No, I've never operated like that. Never had creative control. I've always just kind of been reliable, showing up and doing whatever I'm asked. And this is a direct quote taken from John Cena's August 2025 appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and it's complete waffle. Cena, 15 years earlier in August 2010, petitioned to bludgeon the Nexus at SummerSlam, cooling their heated start to WWE. Disposing of Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel as if they were Barry Horowitz and the Brooklyn Brawler, John was on full Super Cena form this night. He withstood a prolonged 2-on-1 beatdown, which included a DDT on the concrete floor, but Gabriel was unable to evade elimination after missing his own 450 splash, while Barrett succumbed to a typically weak Cena-applied STF. That was it for the Nexus. They'd began their descent into WWE irrelevancy. But that wasn't the plan. As told by Heath Slater, the NXT Season 1 rookies were to go over Team Cena until 1 hour after WWE had opened the doors to the Staples Center. Edge and Chris Jericho were the ones that put the whole match together, made it make sense, and it was good. Then Cena didn't like it, is the story I've heard, so he wanted to change it. Edge and Chris went to bat for us. They were all for it, the Nexus winning. Then it got switched and Jericho and Edge were pissed. They were just like, are you kidding? Are you serious? This ain't good for the story. This is just for Cena's ego. That was a damning message sent to WWE developmental hopefuls and crucially to the so-called WWE Universe, their complaints going unanswered as Vince McMahon succeeded in bidding off another solid gold idea. Number 7. Here comes Charlotte Flair. Now in 2019, WWE had the easiest to sell WrestleMania event since 2001. Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, the man versus the baddest woman on the planet, the biggest babyface versus the biggest heel. But they ruined it. The insertion of Charlotte Flair wasn't the coot that they thought it would be. Flair, already hated for not being Becky Lynch, was serenaded by vitriolic hatred when Vince McMahon introduced her as Becky's replacement for Rousey's match. It was a worst possible solution to a problem that never existed in the first place. It did nothing to assist the WrestleMania build other than fill the void in the weeks Rousey didn't fancy traveling to television. Lynch would ultimately be reinstated as the headline attraction and also win. The fans knew that this was the long-term plan, but it didn't matter. Charlotte was public enemy number one, not storyline-wise, but in actuality. Here, fans' complaints weren't restricted to hating on Flair's fictional character or on WWE's handling of the situation, but rather they took the form of death threats. Now, this isn't okay, obviously, and those involved should feel embarrassed and ashamed. Number 6. Cody Rhodes and the Rubber Chicken. In 2023, WWE had one of the easiest WrestleMania sells ever. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the American Nightmare versus the Tribal Chief, the biggest babyface versus the biggest heel. Wait, where have we heard this before? Yep, they ruined it. Cody was hot property at the time of WrestleMania 39. He returned after a 6-month injury in the Royal Rumble match and set his sights on Roman Reigns, setting out to what had to be the unattainable for Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, John Cena, Daniel Bryan, and countless others. If only. Roman pinned Cody following an unwanted Solo Sikoa interruption. Describing the reaction as an opera of silence would be a cliche gone too far, but it's true. The negative response in the SoFi Stadium was legitimately deafening, loud enough to drown out Reigns' victorious theme music. WWE followed it up with a Brock Lesnar heel turn on Cody Rhodes, and a Roman Reigns title defense versus a yet-to-break-out Jey Uso was a final kick in the teeth. Still, at least Cody got a free rubber chicken out of it. Number 5. The Boss endorses the Rattlesnake. This is what Stone Cold Steve Austin had to say regarding his infamous heel turn at WrestleMania 17 on Chris Jericho's Talk is Jericho podcast. Worst call I've ever made other than refusing to job to Brock Lesnar in Atlanta, but you know, that was my idea. Well, clearly the time wasn't right for me to turn. It was like everybody loved John Wayne for what he stood for, and so he did not ever have to be a bad guy in his movies. He never was. People didn't want to hate me. The Texas Rattlesnake wasn't alone in his complaints. Fans absolutely hated it too. It was impossible not to hate it. It was always a risk to take a megastar of this caliber and then turn them the opposite way. And while it can pay off, with Hulk Hogan in WCW being a prime example, this didn't. Austin's turn played out before a bewildered and lifeless Texan audience who couldn't get their heads around the fact that Austin was now a heel. They were eerily silent when Vince McMahon first handed Austin, his arch-rival for 4 years, the steel chair that he would use to beat The Rock within an inch of his life. As Austin said, it was an angle done for the sake of doing an angle. In other words, why even bother? Austin was done as a full-timer within 2 years of his career-derailing heel turn. Yes, injuries were the primary reason, but he was mentally finished the minute his hand shook Vince's. Number 4. The 2014 Royal Rumble match. So aware was Vince McMahon that Daniel Bryan was the desired winner of the Royal Rumble match in 2014, he opted to remove any possibility of having Batista, his desired winner, be booed in favor of Bryan, that he refrained from having the American Dragon enter the 30-man pool at all. By the time the buzzer sounded for number 30 and Rey Mysterio ran out, the live crowd turned the match off, filling the arena with chants for Bryan. Now the problem with this is that it wasn't the same booking strategy Vince later used in 2019 to build Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey's WrestleMania showdown. Daniel Bryan legitimately wasn't going to main event WrestleMania. He was going to the mid-card and challenging Sheamus for the US title. Bryan ultimately won the big one at WrestleMania 30 after weeks of vocalized fan backlash, toppling a now heel Batista and defending champion Randy Orton in a triple threat masquerading as a handicap match, and Vince acted as if this was his grand plan all along. And if it wasn't for the loud fan vocalization of their immense displeasure, Bryan would have been jobbing to Sheamus on the grandest stage, and we would have never got this moment. Number 3. The 2015 Royal Rumble match. It didn't get any better in 2015. To summarize, Daniel Bryan was chucked out of the Royal Rumble match after just 10 minutes. The dilapidated Big Show and Kane dumped all the favorites out, including Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Dolph Ziggler, and even Ryback out of the match. And Roman Reigns, in a presentation designed to get him over significantly in a market not known for its goodwill gesture, Philadelphia again, rid the match of the Authority's towering henchmen in what is still the worst Royal Rumble Final 3 to date. But not even an appearance from The Rock could prevent #cancel WWE Network from trending worldwide. He knew it too, as a post-match social media interview alongside Reigns displayed The Rock's true colors. He wanted to come in, make the save, and be the hero WWE wanted Roman to be. But Philadelphia wanted no part in it. WWE really must have been grateful that a supposedly freak snowstorm prohibited the following evening's Monday Night Raw from being broadcast, saving its face following one of the worst Royal Rumble matches of all time. Number 2. #WeWantCody. Now in hindsight, this was a blinding piece of business for WWE. It delivered The Rock's first feature-length in-ring outing since 2013, a fiercely brilliant angle between him and Cody Rhodes, and the first instance of an overbooked headline attraction seeing the plunder-focused story benefiting, not derailing the match. At the time though, it was embarrassingly bad. At the 2024 Rumble, Cody Rhodes, who had dragged WWE out of its murky depths and had just won his second Rumble match, pointed directly at Roman Reigns, his assumed WrestleMania 40 foe. Except he wasn't. Seth Rollins was. Roman, meanwhile, was on a track to defend his 4-year WWE title reign against The Rock, ditching the obvious year-long story to deliver the match that had been brewing since 2015. #WeWantCody trended for days on social media, an operation which reached non-wrestling circles and indeed one which resulted in WWE pivoting. A gripping documentary was released in the aftermath of the saga, during which WWE smartly told the story as it actually was. In essence, WWE caved to the pressure. For someone who bangs on about trusting the process, Paul Triple H Levesque hates trusting the process. This was never as evident as it was in February 2024. And number 1, this random Divas match. Paige and Emma versus the Bella Twins. That doesn't read as a particularly enthralling tag team match, and it really wasn't. Plastered onto Raw's 23rd February 2015 episode, the bout, which lasted all of 30 seconds, presented its 4 participants as total losers. How that is accomplished in such a period of time is anyone's guess, but WWE managed it. The finish saw Emma take the pin, obviously, as she awkwardly walked into a Bella Buster as if it was on a to-do list of the day. It was a terribly produced match that unknowingly transcended a change of the guard for WWE history. #GiveDivas a Chance was the online trend, but this was more than a trend. It was a movement, earnestly changed everything for female wrestlers in WWE. Without this match, there would have been no women's tag team championships, no women's intercontinental or US championships, no women's Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, or Hell in a Cell matches, and certainly no women's WrestleMania main event. Fans complained, and for once, WWE actually made a difference, even if they framed it as being the creation of Stephanie McMahon. But there you have it, folks, 10 of the most complained about moments in WWE history. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.